Every family has its secrets. When you delve into your past, who knows what you'll find.
Holy cow.
We connect well-known New Zealanders to famous ancestors they never knew they had.
Do you know what? I quite like the idea of descending from convicts.
It's frustrating. It's emotional and confronting. It'll change the way they view themselves and the way that we see them.
I forgive you, Dad.
Simon Dallow is the face of One Network News, but at the age of 46, he's about to discover some breaking news about himself. Big life changes, such as the breakup of his marriage, have prompted Simon to want to learn more about who he really is.
As you get older, you go, who am I really? And you know, where do I come from? What are my roots?
He'll uncover a story of forbidden love, ancestors on opposing sides of a war, a family scandal, and a love child kept hidden until now.
When you go into the great unknown, you might find something that you didn't want to find.
Simon Dallow, well known to most New Zealanders as the Pākehā face of TVNZ's One Network News. But Simon's known by very few as a Māori descendant, a history that had been kept hidden for years.
Coming up on tonight's One News, Wanganui gets ready to ban gang patches. Our camera's there for reaction on the streets.
No one knew anything until 1986, bolt out of the blue. Dad gets this phone call from this Māori woman in Tūrangi, Nan Payne, and she says, "You're part Māori," and begins to explain to him why. Suddenly I was Māori too.
Simon was raised in West Auckland with his parents, two sisters and a younger brother. In his early 20s, he was overseas when his dad first heard of their Māori connections, and after meeting his former wife, moved back to New Zealand to raise their own family.
I'm enormously excited by what I'm going to find, by filling in the gap that I've known's been there and I've been picking away at for years, but now I get to find out where I fit in. At the same time, of course, that's also terrifying because I'm heading off into the great unknown, and that might not pan out the way I want it to.
Today he's saying goodbye to home as he sets out to unearth his links to a 19th century chieftainess, Rahera Te Kahuhiapo, an influential woman of the 1800s from the Bay of Plenty. First stop will be a visit to his dad, Ross Dallow.
The sense of belonging is something that's been really uncertain.
Hey, Dad.
I know that in particular for Dad, not knowing who his mum's parents were or their background.
Simon's hoping his dad can tell him why his grandmother, Doreen Maxwell, kept her Māori whakapapa hidden, a secret she would take to the grave before her grandson Simon was born.
Is your mum?
Yes, Simon, that's Doreen Early Maxwell.
How old was she then?
I understand she was about 18 years of age at that stage.
So what year did she die?
Mum died in 1963, and it was rather sad, really. She was only 61 years of age, and she never saw many of her grandchildren, including...
Simon's grandfather, Austin Dallow, married Doreen Maxwell in 1927. She was born at the turn of the century, and her mother was Ida Maxwell, and father Ernie Asher carries the Māori lineage. Ernie was a noted rugby league legend and barber, but his daughter Doreen never grew up with him, and for some unknown reason, she had kept her father's identity a secret from her own children, including Ross and his brothers.
I was just a young fella here, as you can see, together with Paul, my brother.
Yeah.
And her mother used to take Paul and myself and young Peter, who's an Australian now.
Your younger brother?
Younger brother, and we'd go into Ernie Asher in High Street and have our haircut, not realising there was any relationship between us and Ernie.
So you'd be taken in by your mother to see her father.
Yes.
She didn't tell you he was your grandfather?
No, that's right, yes.
Just for a haircut?
Just for a haircut, yes. that was as close as the relationship ever got.
Well,
And later on,
did that seem a bit odd though? Why would you be taken all the way into town, or was it
school holidays only?
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
It wasn't regular. It was only during the school holidays, Christmas and the school breaks. Yeah.
So yeah, Ernie used to cut your hair. He used to go these trips on the school holidays, and was that it? Was that all you ever had to do with him?
There was no discussion whatsoever about my mother's parents.
You guys must have
Until-
asked though.
It was difficult, but it just didn't come up, and that's where it stood, in that day and age, in the 1940s and the 50s.
In the conservative 1940s and 50s, mixed-race relationships like Ernie Asher and Ida Maxwell would have carried a stigma from both families. Fueled by ignorance of each other's values and traditions, parents were often the ones most concerned with any mixed union. Ernie and Ida would have known full well the prevailing attitudes, and there's every chance this would have driven their need for secrecy, a secret that was kept from Simon's dad.
That must be incredibly difficult. He never knew his grandparents, any of them, and he finds out in his middle age that his grandfather was a man he did know, just didn't know he was his grandfather. His mother would drag them off on the school holidays to get their hair cut by their grandfather, but he never knew this man was. That must be incredibly difficult to come to terms with. G'day.
G'day, mate. How are you?
Oh, I'm good.
Simon's hoping to unearth more about his Māori great-grandfather Ernie Asher and his daughter Doreen Maxwell.
Oh, a little museum, little hobby that my grandfather set up and just collected from there.
Wow.
The Ryder Museum in West Auckland has a collection of turn-of-the-century rugby league memorabilia and storage, including some tangible belongings of Ernie Asher.
Bit dark. Must be a different world up here. Something different there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Got some Kiwi shirt. But I've got something here special. I think you should have a look at it. Read the inside there. Inside the...
Ernie Asher, 1911. This is a photo from... He played... he represented New Zealand in the league, eh?
Yeah, that's the league cap there.
Yeah.
There's some more here, look.
Oh, wow.
There he is there. Look, he's wearing a blazer.
Ernie Tekepa Asher was born in Tauranga. By the age of 22, he was touring with the Māori Rugby League team to Australia. His famous all-black brother Albert crossed codes and joined Ernie on a 1909 tour. Ernie would go on to earn a reputation as an untiring promoter of rugby league for 36 years, until his retirement at the age of 82.
Is this up here?
Yeah, this is up here. This was over there when it was displayed all over there.
G'day.
That's my grandfather.
Nice to meet you, Simon Dallow.
How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you, Jack?
Are you,
I'm Ernie Asher's great-grandson.
oh yeah, I worked with him on the wharf.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, he was a tally on the wharf.
Ah, yeah.
So you wouldn't be alive then.
Probably not. No.
So that's,
When was that? When was that?
That's over 30 years ago.
Oh, I was alive then, over 30 years ago. I don't know why I hastened to add that, but yeah. Oh, so you knew him. What was he like?
Oh yeah. Oh, good chap. Good, hell of a nice chap.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Couldn't get better. Opie's caps there.
Yeah, we just saw that as well.
I've got a catalogue on bits and pieces. If you want to have a look through there and have a read.
Ernest Asher married May Hill. They had one child. That must be my grandmother.
Is that your mother, is it?
But Simon's about to discover that delving into your past can unearth some deep, dark skeletons.
No, she died before I was born. But if they had one child and that child was George, where's my grandmother? And that would mean then that Dad has an uncle, so there's no mention of Doreen, my grandmother. Well, someone must know about Doreen.
Dad. Yeah, hi.
I've just been to Ryder's Museum and talks about him having one child to May Hill, and that child was George, and he was killed at Monte Cassino in Italy during World War II. Yeah. Yeah, no mention of your mum, no mention of Doreen at all. So, need to find out, if she wasn't mentioned in his bio, then we need to establish how...
Why Ernie's biography never mentions Doreen can only mean one of two things. Simon's grandmother, Doreen, isn't Ernie's daughter, and Simon has no Māori connection, or Doreen was an illegitimate child that Ernie was keeping secret.
Doreen.
Television newsreader Simon Dallow is retracing his genealogy and has just discovered a skeleton in the family closet. It's a confronting moment for Simon. He may or may not have Māori ancestry. If he does, it means his grandmother was the illegitimate daughter of a Kiwi rugby league legend. Simon's now making his way to meet with his dad and Nan Payne, who is his dad's mother's first cousin. At 92 years of age, Nan is the matriarch of the family, and she was the one who first called more than 20 years ago to say the Dallow family shared her Māori ancestry.
Nan, thanks for having us here. This is a day I've looked forward to this day for a long time. Tell me, in 1986, you called Ross, you called Dad out of the blue. Why did that happen? How did it happen?
Well, we lived in Auckland at the time, and quite often I came back to Turangi, and I had this, one of my cousins, Dolly. She said, Nan, did you know that your Uncle Ernie, because she knew he was my favourite uncle, that your Uncle Ernie had a daughter? I said, oh, rubbish. She said, no. I said, Doll, all these years and you've kept that secret to yourself, because it is a secret. None of us know anything about it. And of course I shed a few tears. I was annoyed with my uncle, actually, to think that he had a family that we didn't know anything about.
Nan wanted to find Doreen's family, so she put the word out on a late-night radio talkback show in the mid-80s.
So you put the name Doreen Maxwell on talkback, and the next thing you get...
Yes. I'm looking for the family of Doreen Maxwell. At that time, I didn't know she was a Dallow or whatever. Anyway, that's how I found you. Oh. After they went home, about half an hour after they'd gone, the phone rang, and this is Ross. Nan, what canoe did we come on? The most unlikely question. So I said, I don't know. And what? Oh, I think I was meant to find you.
Yes, I think so too.
It's just fate.
Yes, oh, it was, without doubt.
Over the next hour, Nan shows Simon and Ross the various family connections, confirming that Ernie Asher is in fact Simon's great-grandfather and the link to his Māori ancestry.
It was incredible. I've known for a long time that Nan's the woman who would hold the key to all this. And wow, she's amazing. But I didn't know what to expect or what she would tell me, and it's the certainty, it's the knowledge, and this is when it really starts to become concrete for me. While this is incredibly moving for me, I think it's also, it's probably even more important for Dad, and he's got a great sense of exhilaration and relief. But being the old cop, of course, you'll never see it. So, but I know how deeply this affects him. It's affecting me pretty deeply too. For me, te ohaki is that I've discovered my great-grandfather Ernie, and I, with my family and whānau, are his legacy. Because, as far as I know, apart from Doreen, my grandmother, his only other child was George, who died at Casino in 1944. And so, as a result of that, I am Ernie's legacy, his ohaki. And now it's for me to resume that knowledge and continue and pass that on.
What Simon's discovered is that even though Bill Maxwell was listed on his grandmother's birth certificate, Doreen was the secret love child of a 16-year-old Māori boy, Ernie Asher, and a much older Ida Maxwell. Armed with the knowledge of his whakapapa links, Simon's off to trace his Māori lineage through Ernie's mother, Katarina Te Aotearoa.
I have to say, it's great just to stop and take the time out to do this for me and my kids, and Dad, of course. He started this whole search more than 20 years ago, and now I just wonder why I didn't chase it up sooner. And I'm finding some really fascinating stuff. My Māori great-great-grandmother, Katarina Te Aotearoa, married David Asher, of Jewish ancestry, another mixed-race relationship. And I really wonder, what would it have been like for them?
Jews were on the first ships to arrive in Wellington around the early 1800s. They were prominent in early commercial ventures, including the Hallensteins family and David Nathan opening several successful stores. Simon's great-great-grandfather's family were also among the founders of Auckland's business community. As Simon and Ross will discover, having a relationship with a native girl would have been considered almost a forbidden act under Jewish law.
Other aspects peculiar to a situation in New Zealand were that there were not only men who married out, in general to non-Jewish spouses, but who married Maori women, or who did not marry and yet produced offspring. David Asher married a Maori woman in Tauranga, and his wife Katarina Te Aotearoa of Rotorua held her own against David's family in communal opposition, although their children were never recognised formally by Jewish law. They continued to honour their Jewish heritage.
So Katarina Te Aotearoa, who's Ernie's mother.
That is right.
And she was married to David Asher in Tauranga.
With a strong sense that David's Jewish family struggled to accept Katarina, Simon's wanting to know if her Māori family would have been more welcoming. He's making his way to her Ngāti Pūkenga and Pikiao tribe's homeland in the Bay of Plenty. Simon's about to meet Rahira Ohia, a Ngāti Pūkenga cousin who carries his ancestor's name.
Kia ora. You must be Rahira.
Tēnā koe, Simon.
I know almost nothing about my great-great-grandmother, her daughter, Katarina.
Oh, Katarina.
And you know, married to David Asher, but
Right.
what do you know about them? What can you tell me about? How did they meet? And
Well, what I know about them is that they met during the period when David was a licensed interpreter. So he was.
So he spoke Māori?
He was fluent in Te Reo Māori.
Really?
Clearly, David and Katarina were a couple well before they actually formalised their union.
Because this wouldn't have been this. You know, this was around the time of the New Zealand Wars, or just after the New Zealand Wars.
Yeah, just after.
What would have been the attitudes to a Jewish Pākehā family marrying into a Māori family?
Oh, I think there would have been frowns everywhere.
Yeah.
From both sides. I don't think it would have been approved of by either side. I do know, I've read that Rahira Te Kahuhiapo was not in the least bit impressed by the union, and that David's family was not the least bit impressed by the fact that he wanted to be with a native woman.
Katarina was descended from a chiefly line, so she was expected to maintain strong Māori blood ties. Being wed into an immigrant Jewish family would have been far from an accepted practice.
But they let it go through. True love,
Yes,
true love prevailed.
Yes,
did
it did. I guess it did. And I mean, you know, I don't know a lot about the story in depth. But there's a lot of information about it in the Tauranga Library, and of course Jack Steadman wrote a lot about it as well.
I'll go along to the Tauranga Library. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would definitely be worth your while to do so.
Okay. Thank you, dear. See you soon.
Rahira was known to have disapproved of her daughter and David Asher's marriage. The strange twist is that 40 years earlier, Rahira's own father would go to great lengths to keep her from her first love, Te Ngaru. Te Arawa Kaumātua Joe Malcolm and historian Don Stafford remember the story and the thinking behind her father's actions.
Rahira, she lived there on Te Taiki and fell in love with Te Ngaru. What went wrong?
I think her father was disappointed at her choice, and
Te Ngaru wasn't good enough.
well, I think that's what he felt.
All fathers think that their daughters' suitors aren't good enough, though, don't they?
I'm not too sure about that, but that's a story that features not irregularly in Maori society about the choice of a mate. And it was very, very important in the old Maori scheme of things, in the relationships that were developed, because that affected ownership, that affected a great many things. And he was very concerned about this particular choice she'd made.
And both you and in Sir Maui Pomore's book too, the story is told that these two fell in love. He wasn't good enough, or Dad thought, Te Nia thought Te Ngaru wasn't good enough for his beautiful daughter. And so he just took her off, took her away from him.
Well,
Where did they head to?
well, they went to Pukurahi. That's another pa that's on the edge of this lake, a particularly lovely lake with lots of wonderful pa with lots of wonderful stories. And that's where he put her, so that she would be beyond the grasp, I suppose, of her lover.
Te Ngaru composed a waiata for Rahira. Simon's off to a vantage point that will help paint a picture of what life would have been like for the star-crossed lovers.
This is where Rahira was born, probably around 1820. Rahira fell in love with Te Ngaru here, and her father Te Nia said, no, can't have that. Banished her over to Pukarahi, way over there. And today it's amazing because there's a westerly wind blowing. This is the very wind that on a still night would have carried his love song over to her.
But Simon's about to discover that his ancestors' world would soon be tied down. Television news anchor Simon Dallow wants to find out who he really is. He's unearthed secret liaisons and a love child that has confirmed his Māori ancestry. He's also discovered Jewish bloodlines that he never knew he had. His search has brought him to the Tauranga Library, where he stumbled across the name of Asher, his great-great-great-grandfather, a colourful Jewish immigrant and successful businessman at the time of the Land Wars and the famous Battle of Gate Pa.
The article says that Asher joined the Volunteer Army movement in 1859, and later he became contractor for general supplies to the troops in various parts of the country. So he may well have fought or been part of the Battle of Gate Pa, fighting Māori. And that's fascinating to me because, if I remember correctly, Rahira's brother Putoko was killed at the Gate Pa battle in 1864. And those are the two sides of the family that come together when Asher's son David marries Rahira's daughter Katerina. Well, they get together about 10 years later, which probably goes some way to explaining why, as Rahira Ohia said, neither side was keen for the other to marry.
Asher was part of the force supplying ammunition and artillery shells to the British during the battle for land between Māori settlers and the Crown during the mid-1860s.
This is a photo, an early photo.
Dean Flavel is a Māori curator at the Tauranga Museum.
You can see where the rise in the hillside, and then here.
Gate Pa was a fortified Māori stronghold that held a series of secret lairs, tunnels and bomb-proof shelters. It would withstand more explosives per square metre in one day than the German trenches did in 1 week leading up to the Battle of Somme. After extensive shelling from 15 military units, the British troops stormed the Pa. They thought it was deserted until gunfire exploded around them. But Gate Pa is best remembered for the honourable treatment of the British dead and wounded by Rahira and her people, long after the Imperial troops had retreated.
I think that's what changed a lot of the attitudes, because directly after the Battle of Gate Pa is when all the lands here were confiscated. And
So when you say changed attitudes, you mean changed Pākehā attitudes?
yeah, yeah.
And so less coexistence and more...
Well, with Gate Pa, the Māori were victorious in this battle. And then the following month, the next battle took place at Te Ranga, which is what and they lost that.
Yes.
And along with that loss, they lost their rights to their lands, and those were taken from them, confiscated.
For one side of Simon's whakapapa, the retaliation by way of land confiscation after the Battle of Gate Pa was devastating for Rahira and her people. They lost their future wealth and homes, and while tending to the wounded, Rahira also lost a brother who was killed in battle. The cemetery memorial in Tauranga pays tribute to those who died at Gate Pa.
It must have been enormously difficult for Rahira, you know. She tended the wounded at Gate Pa. You know, she's caring for her own people. Her brother is killed in the battle. This is her land. It's all under threat. So everything, the core of her existence is being threatened, you know, at Gate Pa. And 10 or so years later, her daughter marries the son of a man who fought at Gate Pa against her, possibly even killed her own brother. You know, only, a handful of years later, I don't know if I could have forgiven, you know, that easily or moved on, but I guess battle and war was so much a part of life that you learn to deal with them. Don't know if I could have.
Rahira would push on to fight on behalf of her people for the return of their confiscated land. She was active in the land courts at the time, eventually negotiating the return of large blocks of her territory, a power base that complemented Rahira's inherited rank and ensured the spread of her influence. An influence that would reach the shores of English royalty, not for any political manoeuvring, but for her talents as a weaver of kuruwai.
This is fascinating. Film archive footage from the 1901 visit of the Duke and Duchess of Cornwall and York. The big to-do here. And there's the Duchess wearing the cloak, the kuruwai that Rahira weaved. Well, that supports what I read in this other article here. Rahira taught her daughters and granddaughters the traditional arts of weaving. She cared for 2 pet kiwi, and when they died, she used their feathers to make a cloak, still preserved and used in the family after 6 generations.
The royal tour by the Duke and Duchess of Cornwall and York in 1901 was of huge importance to Māori, particularly those whose loyalty to Queen Victoria and her family had been questioned in the previous century. Rahira's granddaughter had been elected to be the Duchess's personal assistant for the visit.
And here's a shot of it, this is the original, that's why I'm wearing the gloves. The Duchess of Cornwall is sitting right there, wearing the kuruwai, wearing the kiwi cloak, and as her lady-in-waiting, here she is, very prominent on the side of shot, but very noticeable, wearing the boater with the feathers in it, and also in a kiwi cloak, and that is Te Rongakahira, Catherine, Katarina's oldest son, and Rahira's #1 granddaughter.
It's been a whirlwind journey for Simon, with a lot to process and more still to come.
Inside, I'm pretty conflicted with emotions, to be honest. This is enormously exciting to find out this bit of my life that's been missing for so long, and I don't know. So I get to find out where I fit in. That's exciting. Of course, at the same time, that's matched by a terror. I'm almost terrified by what I might find. It might not be the happy ending, the fairy tale that I hope for.
Simon Dallow's about to come face to face with a growing fear. In 4 days, he has to walk and talk on his home marae for the first time. Simon's learnt a little Māori along the way through his work, but he's worried that his Ngāti Pūkenga relations may think he's more competent in things Māori than he really is.
I still have this fear, whether it's rational or not, after discovering what I have at my age, that I might just be an imposter.
Simon's hoping to allay his concerns by meeting with High Court Judge Joe Williams, who is also from Ngāti Pūkenga.
How often does this sort of newbies like me appear on the scene?
Well, there's a few strays coming in from the coming in from the cold. The thing about Whakapapa Connection is that it endures. It always endures, right? And it can be forgotten for a long time and still reignited. And its great power is that it feeds something deep in our soul, I think, which is the need to belong. The need to belong to something bigger than ourselves. And my Ngāti Pūkenga Whakapapa, your Ngāti Pūkenga Whakapapa, gives you that. You get to belong to something that has a beautiful history, that will endure, and that connects you to hundreds, thousands of others.
In 3 days' time, he'll meet some of those relations on his marae. But in the meantime, he's at the Rotorua Library to learn more about his tribe's confiscated land and their court battles to have it returned.
Kia ora, Simon, hi.
Hi, I'm Amanda.
Hello, man, nice to meet you.
There you go.
Fantastic. Let's go look at this. Ernie, my great-grandfather, his Maori land interests are now vested in Andrew George Asher Law. Now, I've not heard of him. Where does he fit in the whole picture? Who is this guy? And no one else has mentioned him. But if I look at my family whakapapa, the family tree, I would guess he'd have to be somewhere down around me, and his middle name is George. So I wonder whether that means he is descended from Ernie's son George, who died in Monte Cassino.
A quick check confirms that Simon's great-grandfather's son, George, didn't die at Monte Cassino childless. When he left for the battlefields of Italy, his wife Dorothy was pregnant. Just months after his death, his daughter Diane would be born. She is the mother of Andrew Law, Simon's newfound cousin.
This is a bit confronting because all the way through this I've known bits and pieces of information, but I always thought it was going to be about history. I didn't think I was going to be in the present in a way that he's pretty much my parallel, just as George had one child. So I'm going to meet my cousin. And what makes it even more interesting is that contact was made with him that in preparing the program, the researchers got in contact and they found out that he's got a whole lot of Ernie's legacy. He has Ernie's treasures and a chest. He never knew where to put these in context because he didn't know about the background either. So my voyage of discovery is about to marry up with my newfound cousin Andrew's discovery. This could be quite an eye-opener. G'day, you must be Andrew.
Hey,
How are you? I'm Simon. Nice to meet you.
You too.
We've got new cousins.
Indeed.
Pretty much. Speaking of whānau?
Yes, this is my wife Debbie.
Hello, Debbie. How are you? Nice to meet you. Real pleasure.
Daughter Taylor.
Hello, Taylor. How are you? Nice to meet you. Can I get this? Well, nice to meet you.
And daughter Madison.
Hello, Madison. Hello. How are you?
Good.
How old are you?
8.
And how old are you?
11.
Guess how old my kids are?
Same.
8 and 11. I've got an 11-year-old daughter and an 8-year-old son.
Wow, you'd love that, Maddie.
I'm going to have to bring them to visit you, aren't I?
Please.
Yeah.
A little bit of a surprise, isn't it?
Oh, fantastic. This is, yeah, well, as I said, I didn't even know you existed until just really a matter of hours ago. It's, you know, I've just found out so many things, and you're my latest revelation, as it were. You know? And you guys are the bonus. Oh, that's fantastic.
So
Now, you've got a whole lot of Vernie's,
We have?
Vernie's old treasures and bits
Come
and
in and have a
pieces.
look.
I'd love to. Yeah, I'd love to.
This was actually George's service case.
Oh, okay.
Everything's a little bit worse for wear, so...
This is your grandfather's case?
Yes, that's right.
Wow. Oh, my goodness.
It's also... We don't know what half of it is. It's all an original state sort of thing, so...
It's a very, very familiar-looking photo, though.
Mm.
Goodness me. Goodness me.
Golly, this is a real treasure trove of old stuff, isn't it?
Here he is.
Holy cow. I've never seen one where he was this... I've never seen the stuff where he wasn't serious and hamming it up for the camera. Hey, Asher. Didn't think anyone would be turning up here wanting to have a look at this, did you, one day?
Not at all. It's been a heck of a surprise.
You know, too, that there's a big porphyry planned to welcome family at Welcome Bay.
Right.
Onto the marae, Te Whetū o Te Rangi, at Welcome Bay in Tauranga. That's coming up. Would you come?
Would love to.
Love to have you there.
Excellent, that'd be excellent.
Simon has discovered ancestry and people in his family tree that he never knew existed. But his journey is far from over. He's about to confront one of his greatest personal fears, speaking on the marae. With all eyes upon him, amongst his newfound tribe and whānau, they hide.
So we're almost there, eh? This is what I've been waiting for, the big reunion. Can't wait for this. That's the peak of it, really. It's where it all comes to a conclusion.
It's the final weekend of Simon Dallow's search into his Māori ancestry and his links to his ancestor, Rahera Te Kahuhiapo. The day's finally arrived for Simon, the beginning of a huge reunion at his marae, his first ever visit to his ancestral home.
We're heading to my home marae, Te Whetū o Te Rangi, Welcome Bay. And I'm enormously excited because I'm going to meet the people who are my relatives and connect me to that land. That really affects me quite deeply. At the same time, it's kind of terrifying because while I'm used to Māori aroha and hospitality and I know that I'll be welcomed, part of me still feels like an imposter. And I guess I can't redeem that until I've been to the marae. Here we go.
"45 members of Simon's family, including his dad, have joined him, along with his newfound cousin Andrew Law and his whānau. An added poignancy is that his tipuna will join him. This taonga, an heirloom print of Rahera, has not been formally welcomed onto the marae since the Wharenui burnt down several years ago. There is a sense that Rahera is being brought back to the marae alongside her mukapuna, Simon.
When you hongi and hug, suddenly these names that were just names on a whakapapa list are real people. And these real people have immediately welcomed me in as their family, and it's so genuine and sincere.
While Simon enjoys time with his newfound cousins, he's about to come face to face with some unexpected emotions.
We don't talk about those people out there being our relatives, our distant relatives. They're our ancestors. They're the ones that connect us to the land, connect us to this house. And so this is your marae. And what I mean by this being your marae is that from this point forward, you don't have to, unless there's an important occasion, you don't necessarily have to come through the gate anymore. You know, you're no longer strangers.
And Rahera too is no longer a stranger. She makes her way inside the wharenui.
Wonderful. Kia ora.
She'll be laid on a kiwi feather kuruwai that she wove more than 100 years ago.
My grandfather George, service here. So
Andrew's now joined with Simon to introduce their shared ancestors, George and Ernie Asher, to the people of their marae.
At the beginning of the week, it was almost partly an academic exercise, and it just progressively became more real. Part of me was missing, and I found it.
With the formalities over, it's time to let the hair down, with an afternoon at another Ngāti Pūkenga marae. It's also a chance for Simon's children to finally hang out with their new cousins.
The way in which I've just been accepted in as part of the whānau, I have the blood, and to many people, and the will to be involved in those two things being, well, hey, you're one of us, and there's been no reservation from that approach, and that's incredibly welcoming, and slightly disarming as well.
Yeah, I think it's been a highlight. I feel as though he's been here all the time. The way he comes in, and it's just like, yeah, he's been here, he hasn't been here all the time.
You know, the way he's connected here with us, even now, take for instance now, look at him, he's just fitting in with the family, and I mean, this is how we are. You know, he's got the personality of a lot of our iwi, and family is kind of important.
And with his coming, he brought other people from the Asher family that we hadn't met, and that's lovely too. We're still finding out who they are.
it's been an awesome experience for us both, you know, finding about the other side of our family. Good for the kids to find out where they come from, and us too. Yeah, it's been really good, very exciting, and good to meet people again.
What we have here is the making of something pretty wonderful.
There's so much happened in the last week. It's only a fraction of what Simon's experienced, but it does lift you because, as I said, the journey's finished from 1986. Man pain, and the journey starting there.
It was particularly important to me for my father. It was his grandfather he never knew, but knew. He knew the man, but not what relationship he had with him. He had his heritage ripped away from him by knowing the man who was his grandfather, but not knowing he was his grandfather. And today is the restoration of what he should have been entitled to, the knowledge of who he came from and where he comes from, and I, in turn, get that as well.
Keep me always in your checkbook.
For you are a special part of me.
My advice to someone else on the same journey, don't hesitate. Don't delay, don't put it off. If you know you've got a little bit of this knowledge, follow it through, because if you don't, you'll just regret lost time. And you will find that you do belong and you are welcomed in a far better way than you could ever imagine.
Supporting local content so you can see more